Michael Moore, you predicted he would win, and you were in a minority. Are you predicting yet that he will go?
No, he's not going anywhere. These Republicans seem to have no interest in impeaching him, and I'm sure they've already done the polling and surveying their districts. These districts are gerrymandered in such a way to guarantee their reelection, and I think they already know that most of them are going to get reelected, and they'll maintain control, and they're not going to impeach him.
Now, your show is rocking the aisles in New York, but that's easy, isn't it? Because, you know, New York is very much against Trump. But shouldn't you be in the Rust Belt and trying to rattle their chairs?
No, actually the problem is New York. The Clinton campaign and the liberals and the Democrats here who completely blew this election. I mean, we are the majority of this country. We got the most votes. The majority of Americans, according to every poll, are very liberal on the issues. And yet the bubble here in New York City is they didn't understand the Rust Belt, or what I called our Brexit states of Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. And that's why we lost. So no, this is the exact place to be doing my show, to try and get through to the people here that I will not stand another loss like this. I mean, we lose by winning. This makes no sense.
But the problem surely is that if you look around New York, you see that the business is booming, that Trump can even tweet that things are better even this year than they were last year. You know, do people really care if they've got an extension of The Apprentice rocking around in the White House? I mean, he hasn't actually achieved very much.
No, people care. Again, the majority do not like Donald Trump. He lost by 10.5 million. 10.5 million people didn't vote for him. That's the 3 million for Hillary and the 7.5 million to the Greens and the Libertarians. So that's 10.5 million that did not want Trump as their president. And but he's still very popular in these minority of states that made up the Electoral College, which, if your viewers don't know what that is, it's a thing that was set up back in the 1700s to convince the slave states to join the Union. And in order to do so, they promised them more votes in the slave states than they deserved. And it's still that way to this day. So that's how we got this problem, and we're going to have to fix that. But our first step is to try and take back Congress next year.
Well, now, Trump says there's no chaos in the White House, and he's appointed General John Kelly to try and sort things out. Do you think he has subjugated himself to the military?
Well, yes. I think he's appointed a number of generals and a number of CEOs, head of corporations, to be in his cabinet and to run things. I mean, that's who he is. That's what he ran on. That's what he stands for. And that's what we've got right now. We've got an awful situation. And our only hope right now, really, because we hold no power, even though we're the majority, we hold no power in Congress, the Supreme Court, the White House. Democrats of our 50 states, Democrats have complete control in only 6 of our state capitals of the 50. So our hope is to basically try to discombobulate him as much as possible. He's easily distracted. He has a very thin skin. And if we can just be like a swarm of bees around his head for the next couple of years, maybe we can prevent some of the damage he's going to do.
The trouble is, a swarm of bees is never going to elect a president, is it? And one of the real issues for the Americans is that the Democrats, as you've already sort of indicated, have absolutely no one to put forward right now.
Correct. That is the problem, because we fail to run. I mean, I liked Hillary, but we don't run beloved candidates. We don't run people the American people would vote for. They do. They run the Terminator, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Ronald Reagan, Trump. They run stars. We run wonks, and we need to be running Tom Hanks and Oprah and other people who wear ball caps.
Well, now, one of the problems Trump has to look at is Venezuela. Now, I mean, a lot on the left have been very soft on Chavez, and you know, even I mean, the big question surely is, do you and does the American left still support the Venezuelan government, given that it looks as if they swelled their electoral vote by 1 million that didn't exist?
Well, first of all, the last thing Venezuela or any other country needs is an American saying what they think we should do or they should do. We butt our nose into way too much stuff that's going on around the world, and I think we need to stay out of their business. Certainly, Chavez, when he started, was on the right path because he wanted to return his country to his people. But I don't know about the recent election this week in terms of how I feel about it. If that's true, what you said, well, obviously, we invented the idea of meddling in elections. I mean, all the talk about Russia meddling in our elections. You go online, you can see the whole list of countries in the last 50 years that we have run candidates in, given money to candidates, the CIA. We've assassinated candidates. We're the pros at this sort of thing, sad to say.
Well, now, Jeremy Corbyn didn't win the last election here, and the Brexiteers are still pulling off Brexit, so far as one can tell, although it's difficult to tell, in all honesty. I mean, you talked of Jeremy Corbyn as leading the left out of the wilderness and into power. We're a long way from that, aren't we?
Oh, you're not. No, you're not a long way from that. He's not a long way from that. I mean, he's an example of somebody actually again who lost but yet won, and I think was considered the big winner in the Labour Party in terms of the turnaround that took place. And it's sometimes it's baby steps, sometimes it's medium steps. Next time around, the Conservatives are going to continue to do what they do and turn more people, especially young people, toward Labour. So I'm very optimistic about that, and we're in a bit of a race here, Britain and the U.S., to see which one of us is going to get out of the situation first. So I would put my money on you guys.
Well, it would be interesting to see, because the truth is that Mr. Corbyn is as pro-Brexit as the hawks in the Conservative Party. I mean, there's no question of him in some way leading Britain out of Brexit.
Yeah, I thought you were talking in general about Labour. In terms of Brexit, again, I don't feel like as an American, if you want to leave Europe, leave Europe. I mean, I don't. I mean, you're still part of Europe, but maybe enough people there just don't want to be part of it. So enjoy your miserable life on your island.
But it's you who earlier in our little talk now suggested that Trump, Brexit were very much the same story. They were alienation of people in the Rust Belt and people who hadn't had a look in here and there. Well, there you are. I mean, and you're now saying, no, Corbyn's still quite easily.
Yeah, but I think that's a good point
Minister.
that you're making, because, right. Yeah, but when I say that, like about the Brexit states here, I think the same is true in your country, that you have a lot of justifiably angry former middle class people now struggling from paycheck to paycheck to get by, and Brexit in your country and Trump in this country were like that Molotov cocktail that they got to throw into a system that had failed them. It's not because they loved Donald Trump, and I think a lot of your polling has shown that it's not that people really loved the idea of separating from Europe. They just wanted to thumb their nose at the whole system, and they did. And maybe that won't be that way the next time around, and maybe, hopefully, with Trump, in 2020, we'll be able to get rid of him.
Well, now, the thing the sort of beacon of hope for Mr. Trump was to try to smash up Obamacare. And he failed in Congress just the other day by a couple of votes. But isn't the truth that he's already, in a way, done the damage to Obamacare, in that the insurance companies around whom the whole process was built are running away from it, and in the end, it may prove to be a completely undeliverable health service?
Yes, we won last week. That's the swarm of bees that we created. But you're right. The problem with Obamacare is that it left the private profit-making insurance companies in charge. And so the flaw in it is from the beginning. That's what we have to fix. When we get in power, that's what we'll do. We'll have a single payer system. We'll have, as Mitch McConnell said the other night, the head Republican in the Senate, what are we going to have now? European health care? And all of America was like, yes, yes, please. So I'm somewhat hopeful that we'll fix that. But the insurance companies, the profit makers, have to get out of healthcare, because when someone's sick, the decision should never be based on how's this going to affect our profit. That's inhuman, and we have to change that.
Let's finish on Russia. I mean, we've had to hate Russia for a very long time. We used to hate them because they were communists. Now we hate them because they're mucking around with our democratic processes. Where are we with Russia and Trump?
Well, I have never hated Russia. It's a wonderful country, wonderful people. I guess we're supposed to be afraid of them. That's how we built the military-industrial complex, by having the big, scary monster in the closet, and so we lived, most of the second half of the last century with that going on, and now I personally don't like all this sort of fear talk. On the other hand, any interference with our election from Russia or anybody else has to be blocked, has to be stopped, and if that happened, it's shameful, and but it's not a reason to start rearming. It's a nice country run by a man who doesn't have a shirt.
Do you lie awake worrying about North Korea?
Every night. No. No. This is all a distraction. This is a distraction away from the real issues, which is that the growing gap between rich and poor. The rich are taking more and more. There was this article in the paper a few months ago here in the U.S. that the average American now no longer has enough money in the bank, that if a loved one passed away across the country somewhere, they don't have enough money to buy an airplane ticket. The majority of Americans don't have $500 in the bank. That's the real issue, and this other stuff is just a nuisance, and not the thing that I lay awake, worrying about. I have other personal issues to worry about,
Michael,
but not North Korea.
I don't think we'll get into them right now, but thank you very, very much for talking to us.